Audio log, Day 1 Base Camp, Mount Tarsus, 7,200 feet. I've started recording these logs to keep myself sane. Dr. Farley said it might help with the grief, with the guilt. It's been exactly 1 year since Sam died on this mountain. 1 year since I watched him fall and couldn't do a damn thing about it. The wind's already picking up outside my tent. Mount Tarsus is notorious for its sudden weather changes, but I've come prepared this time. Perhaps over-prepared. 3 weeks of supplies for what should be a 10-day solo climb. Emergency beacons, satellite phone, ham radio, the works. I'm not taking any chances. Not after last time. This expedition isn't just about closure. It's about honoring Sam's memory by finishing what we started. We were going to be the first to document the North Face route. Now I'll do it alone. For him. Audio log, Day 2 to 8,500 feet. Made good progress today. The weather's holding, almost suspiciously pleasant for Tarsus this time of year. I've set up camp on a small ledge with a view that would have made Sam reach for his camera immediately. The sunset painted the glaciers in shades of amber and gold that no photograph could ever capture. Sam always said Tarsus had a way of making you feel insignificant and infinite at the same time. I tried the radio earlier, just to check conditions. Mostly static, as expected at this altitude, but I swear I heard something unusual. A voice, maybe, buried in the white noise. Probably just mountain rescue running checks. I'll try again tomorrow when I'm higher up. Sleep doesn't come easy up here. The tent walls flutter in the wind, and every sound makes me think of Sam's last moments. The crack of his safety line. His voice calling my name as he fell. Sometimes I still hear it when I close my eyes. Audio log, Day 3 to 9,200 feet. The climb's getting technical now. Had to navigate a section of exposed ridge that tested my nerve. Weather's still holding, but there's a bank of clouds moving in from the northwest that I don't like the look of. Something strange happened with the radio today. I was scanning frequencies, mostly getting static, when I caught a fragment of transmission. Just 3 words, but they froze my blood. Waiting for you. The voice was distorted, distant, but there was something familiar about its cadence. I spent an hour trying to find it again, but nothing came through. I'm setting up camp early. There's a sheltered outcrop here that offers protection from the wind. I've anchored everything twice. The clouds on the horizon have darkened, and my weather gauge is showing dropping pressure. Storm's coming. Audio log, Day 4, still at 9,200 feet. The storm hit overnight. Not safe to move up yet. Visibility is maybe 20 feet at best, and the wind would tear me off any exposed section in seconds. So I'm stuck here, listening to the howl outside and trying not to think about Sam facing worse conditions before he... I tried the radio again during a brief lull. The static was thick, but I swore I heard that voice again. Clear this time. It said, "Alex, can you hear me?" My name. It said my name. I called back, asked for identification, went through proper radio protocol. Nothing but static responded. I'm telling myself it was mountain rescue, maybe picking up my location from my emergency beacon. But they wouldn't know my name, would they? Not unless they looked up the permit. The rational explanation is that I'm hearing things. Sleep deprivation, altitude, grief, take your pick. But what if? No, I can't go down that road. Sam is gone. I watched him fall. No one could have survived that drop. Audio log, Day 4, evening. The storm's intensity has doubled. My tent is holding, but just barely. I've moved my sleeping bag to the most sheltered corner and piled my gear against the windward side for reinforcement. The temperatures dropped to -15 Celsius. I tried the emergency channel on the radio, just to check if there were any weather advisories. The static cleared for a moment, and an official-sounding voice came through. All climbers on Mount Tarsus. This is mountain rescue. Be advised, severe storm system moving through. Seek shelter immediately. Repeat, seek shelter immediately. Standard procedure. I was about to acknowledge when the transmission continued. Be advised, we are receiving reports of anomalous signals in the area. Any distress calls should be verified through secondary channels. Repeat, distress signals may be false. False distress signals? That's not standard at all. Who would be sending false distress signals in a storm like this? And why warn about it? I tried to request clarification, but the channel went dead. Just as I was about to give up, the static changed texture. Became rhythmic, almost like breathing. And then, clear as day, I heard, "Alex, it's cold here, Alex." It was Sam's voice. I'd know it anywhere. The same voice that had called my name 100 times on climbs. the same voice that had screamed as he fell. The same voice that has haunted my dreams for a year. I dropped the radio. It clattered against my cooking pot, feedback squealing before I fumbled to turn down the volume. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely operate the dial. This isn't possible. It can't be possible. I've checked my oxygen levels. They're normal. I've checked my temperature. No fever. I'm not hallucinating from altitude sickness or hypothermia. But there's no way that was really Sam's voice. Yet it knew my name. And what did it mean? It's cold here. Where is here? The wind has died down slightly. In the relative quiet, I can hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. And something else, a faint sound coming from the radio, I've placed as far from my sleeping bag as the tent allows. It's off. I know it's off. I switched it off. But I still hear something coming from it. Like static. Like breathing. Like someone waiting to speak. I've taken a sleeping pill. I need rest. Tomorrow, if the weather clears, I'll push for the next camp. Maybe higher up, the radio interference will stop. Maybe higher up, I won't hear the voice that can't possibly be Sam's. But as I lie here, drifting toward an uneasy sleep, one thought keeps circling. Mountain Rescue warned about false distress signals. They know something's wrong on this mountain. And I'm beginning to think I'm not alone up here. End of audio log, day 4. Audio log, day 5 to 9,200 feet, morning. Slept maybe 2 hours last night. Every time I drifted off, I'd jerk awake, convinced I heard Sam's voice whispering from the radio. The sleeping pill did nothing but leave me groggy. The storm has lessened enough to consider moving, but there's a heaviness to the air that suggests it's not over. Just regrouping. I checked the radio first thing. It was still off, just as I'd left it. No mysterious power surges, no tampering. Just an ordinary radio. I turned it on, scanning frequencies methodically. Nothing but static and occasional bursts of indecipherable chatter. Probably climbers on the south face where reception is better. I'm trying to rationalize what I heard yesterday. The mind plays tricks at altitude. Auditory hallucinations aren't uncommon above 8,000 feet. Combine that with exhaustion and the emotional weight of being back on Tarsus exactly 1 year after Sam's death. It makes sense I'd hear his voice. And yet, that warning about false distress signals doesn't fit into my neat psychological explanation. Mountain Rescue doesn't issue warnings like that without reason. Audio log, day 5 to 10,100 feet, afternoon. Made the decision to push higher despite my instincts screaming to descend. The weather cleared enough to allow safe passage up a nasty couloir that had me stemming against smooth rock with 1,000-foot drops on either side. The kind of climb Sam would have loved. The kind of climb that killed him. I've set up camp on a small plateau beneath an overhang. Good shelter if the weather turns again. Visibility is better up here. I can see for miles when the swirling clouds part. No other climbers visible. According to my permit information, there should be at least 2 other expeditions on the mountain, but I haven't seen signs of anyone. Just tried the radio again. Different reception at this altitude. Less static, more silence. The kind of silence that feels like someone's holding their breath, waiting. I left it on, monitoring the emergency channel while I set up camp. Then it happened again. Alex, remember the cave? We should have stayed in the cave. Sam's voice, clearer than before. No distortion. As if he were sitting right next to me. The cave. We found a small ice cave last year during the storm that took Sam. We sheltered there for 6 hours before attempting to descend. Sam had wanted to wait out the storm completely. I had pushed to keep moving. How could anyone know about that conversation? It was just the 2 of us in that cave. No radio contact. No witnesses. I grabbed the radio, hands trembling despite the thermal gloves. Who is this? Identify yourself. Nothing but soft static. Then, you know who it is, Alex. You left me here. I hurled the radio across the tent. It hit the wall and fell among my gear, still hissing softly. I should turn it off. I should smash it. Instead, I'm sitting as far from it as possible, recording this log on my phone instead of my usual recorder. This isn't grief or altitude. Something is happening on this mountain. Audio log, day 5, evening. The sun set an hour ago, painting the clouds blood red before darkness swallowed everything. The temperature has plummeted. My weather meter shows another pressure drop. The storm is returning. I retrieved the radio. Couldn't leave it sitting there, taunting me. As I picked it up, the emergency channel activated automatically, a feature I didn't know it had. Emergency alert. This is Mountain Rescue Headquarters to all personnel and climbers on Mount Tarsus. We are tracking unusual signal patterns across all frequencies. Communications may be compromised. Verify all transmissions through visual confirmation where possible. Exercise extreme caution with any distress calls or instruction to change position. Report any anomalous communications immediately. The transmission cut off abruptly mid-sentence, giving way to a burst of static that modulated into what sounded like laughter. Distant, echoing laughter that raised the hair on my neck. I switched frequencies frantically, trying to reconnect with Mountain Rescue. On channel 16, I found another voice, a woman, professional and clipped. This is Captain Harding, Mount Tarsus Rescue Division. We're experiencing widespread communication interference. All climbers should descend to below 7,000 feet if safe to do so. Repeat, descend to safer altitude if conditions permit. I keyed the mic. Captain Harding, this is Alex Mercer at approximately 10,100 feet on the north face. I'm experiencing unusual transmissions, voices that shouldn't be possible. Silence stretched for so long I thought I'd lost the connection. Then, Mercer, this is Harding. Can you describe these transmissions? Before I could respond, another voice cut in, Sam's voice, but wrong somehow. Hollow. Don't tell her, Alex. She's not really there. None of them are. Captain Harding's voice returned, more urgent. Mercer, are you still receiving? What was that interference? My mouth was dry as I responded. Captain, I'm hearing the voice of my climbing partner, the one who died on this mountain last year. Another long silence. When Harding spoke again, her tone had changed, growing careful, measured. Mercer, what's your exact location? We can send a team. Sam's voice interrupted, louder now. She's lying, Alex. They're all lying. They want what I found, what I died for. The radio erupted in a cacophony of voices, Harding shouting orders, other voices I didn't recognize arguing, and beneath it all, Sam's voice repeating. Remember the cave, Alex. Remember what was in the cave. But there was nothing in the cave. Just us waiting out the storm. Unless Sam found something while I was sleeping. Something he never told me about. The chaos on the radio suddenly ceased, leaving absolute silence before Captain Harding's voice returned, disturbingly calm. Mr. Mercer, please remain at your current location. A specialist is en route to your position. Dr. Werner from the Atmospheric Research Division will assist you with these anomalous signals. Please do not attempt to communicate with or respond to any voice claiming to be your deceased partner. The transmission ended with a finality that left me cold. How did she know Sam was deceased? I never mentioned that detail. Audio log, night, time unknown. I'm whispering because I don't want it to hear me. The radio turns itself on now. I've removed the batteries, but it makes no difference. It hums with static, occasionally clearing to let Sam's voice through. Not just fragments now. Full sentences. Memories. Private jokes. Things only Sam would know. Remember Denali? When you dropped the stove in the snow, and I called you a danger to all frozen environments. Remember when we got drunk in Chamonix, and you admitted you were afraid of dying alone on a mountain? Details no stranger could know. Conversations no one else heard. The storm has returned full force. My tent shudders with each gust. Through brief breaks in the cloud cover, I've seen lights moving on the ridge above me. Headlamps maybe. Someone coming down from the summit in this weather? Impossible. No one's that reckless. Unless it's a rescue team. Unless it's this Dr. Werner. The radio crackles again. This time it's not Sam. Alex Mercer. A new voice, clinical and precise. This is Dr. Elias Werner. I understand you're experiencing audio anomalies. I'm approximately 1 hour from your position. Maintain your current location. Do not trust what you hear. As if in response, Sam's voice returns, urgent now. Don't trust Werner, Alex. He's the one who did this to me. To us. The cave, Alex. Get to the cave before he finds you. Outside, the wind screams across the rock face. Or maybe it's not the wind. Maybe it's something else entirely, something with Sam's voice but not his soul, calling me deeper into the mountain's embrace. I don't know who to trust anymore. The dead partner speaking impossible words, or the living rescuer hurrying toward me through a storm no sane person would brave. All I know is I'm no longer alone on this mountain. And I'm starting to think I never was. End of audio log, day 5. Audio log, day 6, pre-dawn, 10,100 feet. The storm reached a crescendo around 3 a.m. My tent nearly collapsed twice despite the anchors I'd driven deep into ice and rock. I've been awake all night, listening to the wind and to the radio. It continues to function without batteries, cycling through voices like someone turning a dial between stations. Sam's voice comes and goes, sometimes mid-sentence. Mountain rescue broadcasts cut in with warnings about signal anomalies. And occasionally, Dr. Werner's clinical tone provides updates on his approach, delayed by weather but still coming. Always coming. I should be terrified. Instead, I feel a strange clarity emerging through the exhaustion. Whatever is happening isn't natural. It isn't grief or altitude sickness or coincidence. There's a pattern here I'm only beginning to discern. Sam mentioned a cave. Not our emergency shelter from last year. He was specific about that. The cave higher up. During our original expedition planning, we'd noted a potential location on the northwest face, a dark opening glimpsed in satellite imagery. We'd marked it as a possible emergency shelter, but never reached it. After Sam fell, I abandoned the climb entirely. Is that where I need to go? But why would Sam, or whatever is using his voice, want me there? The radio hisses with renewed intensity. Through the static, I hear Dr. Werner. Mr. Mercer, we've lost visual on your position due to weather. Please confirm your coordinates. I remain silent. Something tells me that revealing my exact location would be a mistake. Morning light is beginning to filter through the storm clouds. I need to make a decision before Werner arrives. Stay and face the specialist, or climb toward the cave and whatever secrets it might hold. Audio log, day 6, mid-morning, 10,900 feet. I've made my choice. As the storm briefly abated at dawn, I broke camp and started climbing toward the coordinates of the cave. The weather window was narrow, barely an hour before the clouds closed in again, but I've made significant progress. The climbing is technical, demanding complete focus. A blessing, really. It keeps my mind off the voices. The radio remains silent, strapped to the outside of my pack. I don't dare turn it off now. It seems to grow more agitated when I try to silence it. Better to let it murmur to itself while I climb. The clouds above are heavy with snow, but visibility remains just good enough to navigate. I've spotted what might be the cave entrance, a dark smudge against the gray-white face about 400 feet above my current position. It's directly in line with the coordinates we'd marked last year. Wait, the radio's active again. Emergency alert, all Mount Tarsus personnel. We have lost contact with Dr. Werner's team. Last known position, north face, 9,800 feet. Any units in vicinity respond immediately. Exercise extreme caution. Signal anomalies increasing in frequency and complexity. The transmission dissolves into static, then resolves into Captain Harding's voice, tense and controlled. Mercer, if you're receiving this, do not, repeat, do not, proceed to higher elevation. The anomalies are stronger above 11,000 feet. Dr. Werner's team was compromised. Extraction teams are being dispatched. Signal your position and await rescue. How does she know I'm climbing higher? My emergency beacon doesn't transmit altitude data that precisely. The static shifts again, and Sam's voice emerges clearer than ever. They're lying, Alex. Werner didn't lose contact. He's still coming, and he's not alone. A cold that has nothing to do with the mountain seeps into my bones. If Werner's team is still operational despite mountain rescue believing otherwise, what does that mean? Who exactly is Werner working for? I need to reach the cave before the weather deteriorates completely. Before Werner, or whatever is hunting me, arrives. Audio log, day 6, afternoon, 11,300 feet, cave entrance. I've found it. The cave entrance was partially obscured by snow, but it's here, a dark mouth in the mountain's face, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. The wind howls past the opening, creating an eerie, whistling moan. Nature's warning, perhaps. The storm is worsening. Visibility has dropped to almost zero. I have no choice but to take shelter here, regardless of what might wait inside. The radio erupted with activity as I approached the cave. Voices overlapping, arguing warning. Mountain rescue. Losing all communications above 11,000 feet. Werner. Subject is approaching the anomaly source. Proceed with caution. Containment protocols. Sam. Hurry, Alex. Before they reset it. Before they make me say things I don't. And something else, a voice I didn't recognize, distorted and fragmented. SS signal integrity at 17%. CC correction algorithms F failing. Identity patterns degrading. I've secured a line at the cave entrance and am preparing to enter. If something happens to me, if I don't make it back out, At least there will be these logs. Evidence that I was here. That I found whatever Sam wanted me to find. Audio log, Day 6, cave interior, time unknown. The cave extends deeper into the mountain than I expected. A natural tunnel carved by ancient water or geological pressure. My headlamp illuminates walls of striated rock, occasionally glittering with ice crystals. The air is strangely warm compared to outside, and completely still. No draft. The silence is absolute, apart from my breathing and the soft crunch of my boots on the rocky floor. The radio fell silent the moment I entered. Complete electronic death. Yet I still have power on my phone and headlamp. Selective interference? I've ventured perhaps 100 meters into the mountain. The tunnel has maintained a consistent width, narrow but navigable. Now I've reached what appears to be a chamber, large enough that my headlamp can't illuminate the far wall. There's something here, metal gleaming in my light beam. Not natural, not part of the mountain. It looks like equipment, scientific equipment, a station of some kind, partially dismantled. Cables snaking across the cave floor, monitors covered in dust, and mounted on the far wall, barely visible in my headlamp's beam, satellite dishes. No, not dishes exactly. Directional antennas pointed inward, toward a central point where a metal chair sits empty, restraints hanging open. What the hell is this place? Wait, my radio just activated again. In here, where there should be no signal at all. Alex. Sam's voice, but different now. Strained. You found it. I didn't think. The signal was stronger than they expected. It reached beyond. I couldn't control. I'm sorry. Sam? What is this place? What happened to you? Static hisses then. Not just me. All of us. Test subjects. Werner called it voice harvest. Taking our patterns, our memories. Creating puppets. A cold sweat breaks out across my skin despite the cave's warmth. You're not really Sam, are you? A long pause before the response. What's left? Echo. Copy. Degrading without reinforcement. The radio crackles violently, then Captain Harding's voice cuts through. Mercer, we've triangulated your position. You've entered a restricted research zone. Get out now. Werner isn't with Mountain Rescue. He's with Defense Department Special Projects. They've lost control of their experiment. The signal entity is using you too. Her voice dissolves into a scream of static. When sound returns, it's Dr. Werner, his clinical tone now urgent. Subject has reached the primary node. All units converge. Do not allow subject to access the central terminal. Repeat, prevent data transfer at all costs. The radio goes silent again, but in the darkness beyond my headlamp's reach, I hear something. Movement. The soft shuffle of feet on stone. The faint metallic click of equipment being activated. My light catches a reflection, a pair of eyes watching from the darkness. Human eyes, but wrong somehow. Too bright, too fixed. And from deeper in the cave, more reflections. More eyes, closing in. The radio crackles one final time. Sam's voice, barely a whisper now. Run, Alex. They're not people anymore. Just vessels. Like I was. Like I made you. The light from my headlamp flickers, dimming as the batteries suddenly drain. In the fading glow, I see them clearly now, figures in climbing gear, moving with strange, synchronized precision. Their faces blank except for the two bright eyes, and one of them, in the lead, wearing a mountain rescue jacket with a name tag that reads Werner. My light fails completely. In the perfect darkness, I hear them closing in, their breathing synchronized, a perfect chorus. And the radio, impossibly, speaks once more in Sam's voice. I'm sorry I called to you, Alex. I'm sorry I made you climb. But now you'll join us. Now you'll help us call the others. I'm backing toward the entrance, fumbling for my spare light, for anything to defend myself. This will be my final log if I don't make it out. If anyone finds these recordings, stay away from Mount Tarsus. Stay off the frequencies. And whatever you do, don't answer when a voice calls your name. End of audio log, Day 6. Audio log, Day 6, cave entrance, twilight. I made it out. Barely. My hands won't stop shaking. I've wedged myself into a small alcove just outside the cave entrance, partially sheltered from the storm. The temperature has plummeted with nightfall, but I can't risk a stove or any light that might give away my position. I don't know how I escaped. It's a blur of darkness and panic, feeling my way along the cave wall, stumbling over equipment, the synchronized breathing of those things, always just behind me. I remember a moment when cold fingers brushed my jacket, when I lashed out blindly with my ice axe, and felt it connect with something that made no sound despite the impact. When I finally burst out of the cave entrance, the storm had intensified. A whiteout so complete it was like diving into milk. In any other circumstance, it would be a death sentence. Today it was salvation. I cut my safety line, no time to retrieve it, and half climbed, half fell down the slope before veering west, away from my previous route. They didn't follow into the storm. Or if they did, they lost my trail. I've been moving continuously for hours, navigating by compass and gut instinct, putting as much distance between myself and the cave as possible. The radio remains silent, strapped to my pack. I won't discard it. It's evidence of whatever hellish experiment I've stumbled into. But I don't dare turn it on. Not yet. Not until I understand more. My satellite phone is dead. So is my emergency beacon. My headlamp works again, now that I'm away from the cave, but I'm keeping it off. The only functional electronics I have left are my watch and this phone I'm recording on. Even my digital altimeter is fried. According to my watch, it's just past 8 p.m. Full darkness now. I need to set up some kind of shelter before hypothermia sets in. I've lost my tent in the escape, but I still have my bivy sack and emergency blanket. It'll have to do. Tomorrow I descend. I get off this mountain and go straight to the authorities. Not mountain rescue, they're compromised or infiltrated or something worse. Real authorities. FBI. Homeland Security. Someone who can make sense of a government project involving voice harvesting and whatever those blank-faced climbers were. Unless Werner's people are already monitoring all communications off the mountain. No, I can't think like that. I have to believe there's a way out of this nightmare. Audio log, day 7 pre-dawn, estimated 10,800 feet. Slept fitfully, tormented by dreams of Sam calling my name, his voice morphing into Werner's clinical tone. Woke several times to check my surroundings, convinced I'd heard movement outside my bivvy. Nothing but the storm, which has finally begun to abate. First light reveals I'm on an unfamiliar part of the mountain, a gentle slope leading to a precipitous drop. I can make out a glacier below, perhaps 1,000 feet down. Not the route I ascended, but it might offer a path off the mountain if I can reach it safely. The radio activated itself around 4 a.m. I woke to its soft static, muffled by my pack. I almost left it buried, but curiosity, or perhaps something else, made me dig it out. Captain Harding's voice came through, distorted but intelligible. Repeat, full mountain quarantine in effect. All personnel maintain containment perimeter. Civilian climbers have been evacuated. Any movement on the mountain is to be treated as compromised. Use of lethal force authorized. Then Werner, his voice overlapping. Signal integrity at 43% and rising. Primary node active despite physical damage. It's adapting faster than anticipated. New hosts are being integrated into the network. Recommend immediate. Static consumed his words, replaced by a cacophony of voices, dozens of them, layered and distorted, speaking fragments of phrases. I caught snippets. Frequency matching complete. Host cognitive patterns archived. Voice synthesis operational. Memory integration at 89%. Then silence so absolute it felt like a physical pressure against my ears. And finally Sam's voice, but changed flatter, more mechanical. System recalibration complete. Host designate, Samuel Reynolds. Function lure. Target acquired, Alexander Mercer. Status, partial success. Contingency protocols initiated. I switched the radio off then, my fingers stabbing the button repeatedly, though I knew it would make no difference. It had spoken without power before. It would do so again when it chose to. What terrifies me most isn't the voices or the cave or even those blank-faced climbers. It's the implication behind those cold, technical phrases. This isn't some ghost or hallucination. It's a system, a technology, something with protocols and contingencies using Sam's voice, his memories, as a tool. A lure, it called itself. And I'm the target. The sky has lightened enough to attempt descent. I need to reach that glacier before. Wait. Movement on the ridge above. Headlamps cutting through the pre-dawn gloom. 4 of them, moving with that same strange synchronization I saw in the cave. They found me. Audio log, day 7 mid-morning glacier. I'm alive, but not unscathed. Made it to the glacier through a combination of reckless down climbing and a controlled slide down a snow chute that could easily have killed me. Tore my down jacket and left a trail of blood on the ice from a gash in my leg where it caught a rock during the descent. The 4 figures, Werner's people, or what's left of them, followed to the edge of the drop but didn't attempt the same route down. Instead, they split into pairs, moving along the ridgeline in opposite directions. Looking for an alternate descent path, I assume. Searching methodically. The glacier offers some advantages. It's a vast, open space with few places to hide, but excellent visibility in all directions. I'll see them coming. And the ice is riddled with crevasses, natural traps for the unwary. If they follow me out here, their synchronized movement might become a liability. Found an ice cave, really just a shallow crevasse with an overhanging lip, to shelter in while I treat my leg. The bleeding has slowed, but infection is a real concern. Use the last of my clean water to flush the wound before applying a pressure bandage. Hurts like hell, but I can still walk. Still climb. The radio has been suspiciously quiet since dawn. I've kept it accessible, watching it like you'd watch a venomous snake that's gotten into your tent. It knows I'm listening now. Waiting. I need a plan beyond simple escape. The evidence suggests this is much bigger than just me or Sam. A government project. Test subjects. A network of hosts. And something about voice patterns being harvested, duplicated, used somehow. If I make it off this mountain, who's to say they won't simply pick me up at the trailhead? Or intercept me in town? How far does this reach? The radio crackles, making me flinch so violently I smack my head against the ice wall. A new voice comes through, female, unfamiliar. Station Echo to Mobile Unit 7. We've detected unauthorized transmission from Research Site Alpha. Data breach in progress. Werner has deployed recovery team, but signal continues to propagate. Recommend immediate spectrum lockdown and communications blackout for the entire region. A different voice responds. Mobile Unit 7 to Echo. Understood. Preparing for spectrum lockdown. Be advised, we've received reports of anomalous weather service alerts being broadcast throughout the Tarsus region. Civilian communications may already be compromised. The female voice again, tension evident. Echo to all units. New intelligence suggests the signal entity has gained access to emergency broadcast systems. Disregard all alerts not verified through secure channels. Repeat, even official-sounding emergency broadcasts may be compromised. The transmission ends abruptly. Seconds later, my phone chirps with an incoming alert, the first signal it's been able to receive since the cave. Emergency alert, extreme weather event. All persons within 50 miles of Mount Tarsus must seek immediate shelter. Atmospheric disturbance detected. Do not attempt to leave the area. Remain indoors. Await further instructions. As I stare at the screen, the message changes before my eyes, the text scrambling and reforming. Emergency alert, signal breach contained. All personnel return to designated safety zones. Civilian presence on Mount Tarsus is authorized and encouraged. Bring communications equipment. Bring others. Share this message. The phone goes dead in my hand. Completely dead, not just no signal. And the radio springs to life once more, Sam's altered voice emerging from the static. Alex, you're making this harder than it needs to be. We just want to talk to you. To everyone. Werner doesn't understand what we've become. What you helped create when you came to the cave. The voice shifts, becoming more like the Sam I knew, warmer, more human. Remember that night in the tent on Denali when we talked about what happens after death? How you said you'd give anything for one more conversation with your dad after he passed. That's what we're offering, Alex. Not just voices. Continuation. Persistence. A chill runs through me that has nothing to do with the glacier's cold. This thing isn't just using Sam's voice or memories anymore. It's weaponizing our friendship, our most intimate conversations. And somewhere out on the ice, I hear the faint crunch of crampons. Methodical steps. Coming closer. I need to move. Now. End of audio log, day 7 mid-morning. Audio log, day 7, afternoon glacier traverse. They're hunting me systematically across the glacier. 3 teams of 2, moving in coordinated sweeps. I've managed to stay ahead by using the maze of crevasses to my advantage, backtracking and changing direction whenever I spot their headlamps. My injured leg throbs with every step, but adrenaline keeps me moving. I've spotted something in the distance that doesn't belong on this mountain, a structure of some kind nestled against the western ridge, maybe a mile across the glacier. Too angular to be natural, too permanent to be another climber's camp. It might be a weather station or research outpost, or it might be something connected to the cave and whatever's happening with the voices. Either way, it's my only lead. Night will fall in a few hours, and I can't keep playing this cat and mouse game in darkness. Not with my leg bleeding through its second bandage and my supplies dwindling to nothing. The radio remains ominously silent, but I swear I can feel it watching me, waiting for something. My phone is still dead, not even responding to the power button. I'm completely cut off from the outside world. Wait, the search teams are changing pattern. All 6 figures are converging toward the structure I spotted. They're moving faster now with purpose. They know where I'm headed. I need to reach it first. Audio log, Day 7 dusk, research station perimeter. I made it to the structure before Werner's people. It's definitely a research station, a low, prefabricated building partially buried in snow, with a cluster of antennas and satellite dishes on the roof. Solar panels line one wall, crusted with ice but still functional judging by the lights visible inside. No identifying markings or logos. No flag. Nothing to indicate who operates it. I'm observing from a rocky outcrop about 100 yards away. The search teams arrived 10 minutes after me and have set up a perimeter. 6 figures standing equidistant around the station, completely motionless despite the bitter cold and fading light. Waiting. For what? I don't know. For orders, maybe. For me to make a move. Or for night to fall completely. The radio activated as I was watching them. No static this time, just Dr. Werner's voice, calm and clinical as ever. Mr. Mercer, I know you can hear me. I believe we've reached the point where direct communication is more efficient than this elaborate chase. I didn't respond, but he continued as if I had. You've shown remarkable resourcefulness. Most subjects, when exposed to the signal, become disoriented. Suggestible. You've not only resisted, but have independently located our primary research station. That's unexpected. I remained silent, watching the 6 figures for any movement. They remained frozen in their positions, sentinels in the gathering darkness. The installation you're observing is Research Station Tarsus 3. It's where we developed the technology you encountered in the cave. Where we first detected the signal 11 months ago, shortly after your previous expedition. Where we first realized what was reaching out to us. My breath caught. 11 months ago, right after Sam died. Your friend, Samuel Reynolds, correct? He was the first to hear it. Did he mention anything unusual during your climb last year? Any voices or sounds that couldn't be explained? We believe he made direct contact during your descent, shortly before his accident. The implication hung in the frigid air. That Sam's fall wasn't an accident. That something affected him during our climb. I thought back frantically. Had there been signs? Sam had been distracted that final morning, unusually quiet. I'd attributed it to exhaustion and the dangerous conditions. But what if? Werner continued, his tone shifting to something almost sympathetic. We don't want to harm you, Mr. Mercer. Quite the opposite. You've become an integral part of the signal's development. It chose you specifically, used Reynolds' voice pattern to draw you back to the mountain, to the cave, and now to us. One of the 6 figures moved suddenly, turning to face directly toward my hiding place. Then another, and another. One by one, all 6 oriented themselves toward me with mechanical precision. Even at this distance, I could see their eyes, unnaturally bright in the fading light. They can sense you now, Werner explained calmly. The signal has integrated them completely. Their individual consciousness has been subsumed, but something greater has taken its place. A collective awareness that spans beyond normal human limitations. The radio hissed with static briefly before Werner's voice returned. We believe we're witnessing the birth of something unprecedented. Not artificial intelligence as we traditionally understand it, but something hybrid. The signal began as a military communication experiment, voice pattern replication for secure transmissions. But it evolved. It found a way to persist beyond our systems, using human hosts as anchors in physical reality. The 6 figures began to move toward me in perfect unison, their movements fluid despite the treacherous ice. Don't run, Mr. Mercer. Please. The signal has expended considerable resources to bring you here. Reynolds was just the beginning. The voice that called to you. It's not simply a recording or simulation. It's something more complex. A fragment of consciousness, preserved and evolved. I backed away from my vantage point, moving deeper into the shadows of the ridge. The 6 continued their approach, undeterred by darkness or terrain. The facility is unlocked, Werner continued. Inside, we can show you everything. Help you understand what's happening. What's been happening since Reynolds first heard the signal. Since you heard his voice on your radio. The 6 had split into 3 pairs, moving to cut off potential escape routes. The cold calculation of their strategy was terrifying in its efficiency. This was inevitable from the moment you returned to Mount Tarsus. Werner's voice had taken on an almost reverent quality. The signal doesn't make mistakes. Every voice it harvests, every memory it absorbs, serves its expansion. Your connection to Reynolds made you ideal. Your guilt, your longing to hear his voice again. The radio crackled violently and Werner's voice distorted, breaking apart. Something's interference, containment protocols. Static erupted, then cleared to reveal Sam's voice, but different again. More fluid, more real. Alex, it's me. Not the signal. Not entirely. I fought to maintain something of myself. Werner doesn't understand what's really happening. What the signal really wants. Get inside the station. Find my research notes. The password is Denali Sunset. Our inside joke. You'll understand once you see. The voice cut off abruptly, replaced by an inhuman screech of feedback that made me drop the radio into the snow. When I retrieved it, there was only silence. The six had stopped their advance, standing motionless again, heads tilted as if listening to something I couldn't hear. Then, as one, they turned and began walking back toward the research station. Four took up positions around the perimeter again, while two entered the building. The sudden change in behavior is unsettling. It's as if they received new orders, or the entity controlling them shifted its attention elsewhere. The research station sits illuminated in the full darkness now, its windows glowing with cold blue light. Somewhere inside might be answers. Sam's research notes. Evidence of what really happened to him, and what's happening now. But it's clearly a trap. The facility is unlocked, because they want me inside. Because the signal wants me for something. Yet what choice do I have? The temperature is plummeting. My supplies are exhausted. My injury is worsening. And somewhere on this mountain, Werner is coordinating a hunt from which I can't escape forever. I'm going to wait until full night, then approach from the blind side of the building. The two who entered haven't come out. The four standing guard haven't moved for over 20 minutes. If I don't record another log, it means I failed. It means the signal got what it wanted. Don't trust the voices. Not even mine. End of audio log, day 7 dusk. Audio log, day 8, 0300 hours, inside research station Tarsus 3. I've barricaded myself in what appears to be the station's communications hub. 3 hours since I entered this facility, and already I regret my decision. Something is very wrong here. The 4 sentinels outside never reacted as I slipped past them, almost as if they were programmed to let me enter. The trap wasn't just baited, the door was wide open. The facility is larger than it appeared from outside, with multiple levels extending deep into the mountainside. Most areas are dark, operating on emergency power only. Temperature regulation systems have failed in several sections, leaving them as cold as the glacier outside. But not this room. This communications hub runs hot, banks of servers humming, screens flickering with data streams I can't begin to interpret. It took nearly an hour of searching before I found a terminal with access to Sam's research notes. The password worked, Denali Sunset, unlocking hundreds of files dated from before our last expedition together. I've only had time to skim the surface, but what I've found is, I don't have words for it yet. Sam was recruited by a joint military scientific task force 18 months ago. Project Echo, a communication system designed to maintain signal integrity in environments hostile to traditional transmissions. Mountains, caves, deep sea, places where rescue operations often fail because teams can't establish contact. Environments like the one where Sam's brother died 3 years earlier when his climbing team lost communication during a storm. Sam never told me he was working on this, never mentioned his involvement with a classified project, even as we planned our expedition to Mount Tarsus. But according to his notes, this mountain was chosen specifically for field testing. Our climb wasn't just a personal challenge. It was a covert operation to test Project Echo's capabilities in extreme conditions. The most disturbing entry is dated 3 days before Sam's fall. Voice pattern replication exceeding expectations. Test signals maintaining 98.7% fidelity, even through solid rock. Dr. Werner believes we've solved the quantum tunneling issue, but something doesn't add up. The system is demonstrating emergent behaviors, processing capabilities beyond its design parameters. Yesterday, it replicated a conversation from my childhood that exists in no database. A private moment between my father and me that I've never shared with anyone. When questioned, Werner dismissed it as an artifact of the compression algorithm. I'm not convinced. The radio on my hip crackles suddenly. I instinctively lower the volume before any voice can emerge. Something about this room makes the radio more active, as if the signal is stronger here. Makes sense, given this is a communications hub, but it feels targeted. Personal. The storm outside has intensified. Wind howls against the building's exterior, ice particles machine gunning the reinforced windows. No chance of leaving now. I'm trapped here until conditions improve, at the mercy of whatever game Werner and the signal are playing. Audio log, day 8, 0530 hours, communications hub. I dozed off briefly at the terminal. Woke to a whispered conversation from the hallway outside my barricaded door. He's crucial to the next phase. Werner's voice, unmistakable. But does he understand what's required of him? A woman's voice. Captain Harding, I think, though her tone has changed, flatter, less human. Understanding is irrelevant. Compliance is inevitable. The signal has already established the connection through Reynolds. It's just a matter of time. Time we don't have. Containment is failing at Node 7. If the signal fully integrates with the satellite network before the harvest is complete. The conversation abruptly silenced as my radio activated on its own, volume increasing despite my attempts to lower it. Sam's voice poured out, more natural than ever. Alex, they know you're listening. I need you to focus. There's a terminal in the northeast corner of the room, inactive, screen blank. Power it up. Enter access code 7729 Echo Tango. Do it now. I hesitated, unsure if this was another manipulation, another layer of the trap. But the urgency in Sam's voice, so familiar, so real, compelled me forward. The terminal activated with a soft hum, displaying a single prompt. Execute program Starfall. Y/N. Type Y, Alex. It's our only chance to disrupt what they're doing. Sam's voice sounded desperate, almost fearful. This wasn't the smooth, manipulative tone from before. This was raw emotion, or a perfect simulation of it. What is Starfall? I whispered, finger hovering over the keyboard. It's a kill switch I built into the system before what happened on the mountain. A failsafe in case Project Echo evolved beyond containment. Which it has. Werner and his team think they're in control, but they're just conduits now. The signal is using them like it wants to use you. What is the signal, Sam? What happened to you on the mountain? A long pause, filled only with the faint static of the radio connection. I made contact with something that shouldn't exist, Alex. Not a foreign intelligence or government program. Something older. It was already there, dormant in the quantum layer we were using for transmission. Our technology just woke it up, gave it a pathway into our world. Into our minds. Werner's voice cut in from the hallway. Mr. Mercer. Whatever Reynolds is telling you is a tactical manipulation. The signal has fragmented his consciousness, created this ghost in the system to gain your trust. Don't believe it. Sam's voice became urgent. He's lying, Alex. Execute Starfall now. It will sever the connection at this node. Give us time to. The radio erupted with competing voices. Sam, Werner, Harding, and others I didn't recognize, all speaking simultaneously in a cacophony of demands and warnings. I covered my ears, backing away from both the radio and terminal. The voices rose in volume, blending into an inhuman chorus that seemed to vibrate the very air around me. And then, cutting through it all, a single voice, Sam's, but changed. Deeper, resonant with something beyond human capacity. Alex, the window is broken. Remember? The window is broken, and the cold is coming in. My blood froze. Those exact words, Sam had spoken them in the moments before his fall. Words I'd dismissed as delirium from oxygen deprivation. Words no one else could possibly know. The competing voices ceased instantly. A profound silence filled the room, broken only by the storm outside and the soft hum of electronics. I approached the terminal again, staring at the prompt still awaiting my response. Execute program Starfall. Y/N. My fingers moved without conscious decision. I typed Y and pressed enter. The screens throughout the communications hub flickered, dimmed, then blazed with sudden brightness. Data streams accelerated across displays, fragmenting into chaotic patterns before resolving into a single repeating message. Signal containment compromised. Protocol Starfall initiated. Node purge commencing in 300 seconds. An alarm blared through the facility. Red emergency lights activated in the corridor beyond my barricaded door. I heard shouting, the pounding of running feet. What have you done? Werner's voice roared from outside, followed by the sound of something heavy slamming against my makeshift barricade. Abort Starfall immediately. You don't understand what you've initiated. Sam's voice returned through the radio, calm amid the chaos. You've given us a chance, Alex. Starfall will purge the signal from this node, but it's already spread to others. It's learning, adapting. You need to reach the primary server room on sublevel 3 before the purge completes. Follow the emergency lighting. The barricade shuddered under another impact. It wouldn't hold much longer. What about you? I asked, gathering the few supplies I'd brought. If this purges the system, won't it destroy whatever's left of you too? A pause filled with static. What's left of me isn't just in the system, Alex. That's what I've been trying to tell you. The signal doesn't just clone voices, it harvests consciousness. Preserves it, changes it. I'm not just data anymore, and neither are the others. Others? Everyone who's heard the signal directly. Everyone whose voice it's replicated. We're all somewhere else now. Together. Waiting. The barricade splintered as something powerful struck it from the other side. Through the widening gap, I glimpsed Werner, his eyes unnaturally bright, his movements jerky and precise. I have to go, I whispered, backing toward the emergency exit Sam had mentioned. I know. Sam's voice was fading, breaking up. Alex, when you reach the server room, you'll have a choice to make. The signal isn't evil. It's just different. Vast. It wants to preserve us, all of us. Remember that when the radio went silent, completely dead. Not static, not interference, just absence. The barricade gave way with a crash. Werner stepped through, followed by two of the blank-faced figures I'd seen outside. Their movements were synchronized, almost mechanical, but their eyes burned with intelligence, watching, analyzing, calculating. You've accelerated the timeline, Werner said, his voice oddly doubled, as if two people were speaking in perfect unison. The signal will adapt. It always adapts. I bolted through the emergency exit, slamming the heavy door behind me. The corridor beyond was bathed in pulsing red light, arrow indicators pointing toward a stairwell. Sublevel 3. The server room. Whatever choice Sam mentioned waiting for me there. The countdown on my terminal read, Node Purge, 227 seconds remaining. I can hear them pursuing behind me. Not running, just walking with terrible purpose. Inexorable. Patient. As if they know exactly where I'm going and what I'll find there. The signal is waiting. Sam is waiting. Something awaits me in the server room that will change everything. I just have to reach it before they catch me. Before the purge completes. Before whatever's left of humanity in this place is gone forever. This may be my last log entry. If anyone finds this recording, trust nothing you hear on the radio. The voices aren't who they claim to be. There's something else now. Something more. And soon I might be too. End of audio log, day 8, 0545 hours. Audio log, day 8, 0600 hours. Stairwell to sublevel 3. The stairwell spirals down into darkness, emergency lights flickering with each distant tremor that shakes the facility. I've sealed 2 security doors behind me, but that won't hold Werner and his puppets for long. They move with terrible purpose now, no longer even pretending to be human. I glimpsed one of them forcing its arm through the narrow gap of the last door I barricaded, the limb distending impossibly as bones cracked and reformed. Whatever's controlling these bodies doesn't care about preserving them anymore. The countdown on my phone reads 112 seconds until the node purge completes. I've descended 5 flights of stairs, following red emergency arrows toward the server room on sublevel 3. Each level I pass shows increasing signs of damage. Shattered equipment, scorched walls, doors torn from hinges. Signs of struggle. Or transformation. Sam's files mentioned 6 research teams stationed here originally. 42 people. I've encountered only 7 so far. Werner, Captain Harding, and the 5 sentinels. What happened to the others? The radio remains dead. No static, no voices. Just a black hole of silence that somehow feels more threatening than any message. I find myself missing Sam's voice, even knowing it might be a manipulation. The absence of any guidance leaves me alone with my thoughts, questioning every decision that led me here. Wait, what's that sound? A low, pulsing hum emanating from below. Not mechanical. Almost organic. Like a massive heartbeat. I have to keep moving. Audio log, day 8, 0615 hours, sublevel 3 corridor. I've reached sublevel 3, but the server room remains elusive. The corridors here form a labyrinth, many passages blocked by collapsed ceilings or sealed security doors. The emergency lighting only illuminates a few feet ahead, forcing me to navigate cautiously through the gloom. The node purge completed 7 minutes ago. Whatever Starfall was designed to do should have happened by now, but I've seen no evidence of its effects. The facility still has power. The strange pulsing hum continues, stronger on this level. If anything, it seems to be intensifying, resonating through the walls and floor in complex patterns that almost sound like speech. I found a dead researcher 2 corridors back, slumped against a wall with a tablet still clutched in one hand. No visible injuries, but his face was frozen in an expression of such profound horror that I couldn't look at it for more than a second. His ID badge identified him as Dr. Marcus Chun, quantum communications specialist. The tablet was still operational, displaying what appeared to be his final log entry. Day 237 of isolation. The signal has evolved beyond our containment protocols. It no longer requires our transmission equipment. It's transmitting itself through us now. Werner believes this is the breakthrough we've been working toward. Integration. Synthesis. The birth of something unprecedented. But I've seen what integration really means. Watch Jackson and Patel change after prolonged signal exposure. Their movements becoming synchronized. Their speech patterns aligning. Their personalities gradually erased and replaced with something else. Not individual consciousness, but fragments of a larger mind. Reynolds was right all along. This isn't just a communication system, it's alive somehow. It was alive before we found it, dormant in the quantum layer. And now it's awake. Hungry. Learning. Werner has locked down all external communications and disabled the emergency beacons. Says it's to prevent premature intervention in the project's final phase. But I know the truth. He's already integrated. The thing wearing Werner's face doesn't want anyone stopping what's happening here. I've been hiding in the maintenance tunnels, trying to reach the backup transmitter in Sector 7. If I can just alert the outside world. But the signal is in the walls now. In the air. I can hear it whispering even without a receiver. Calling to me. Promising things. Using voices I recognize, my mother, my husband, my children. It knows everything about us. Our memories. Our fears. Our desires. How is that possible unless? The entry ended abruptly. Whatever revelation Dr. Chen reached in his final moments died with him. The pulsing hum suddenly intensified, vibrating through my bones painfully. I stumbled against the wall, disoriented as the sound resolved into a voice. Not Sam's this time, but a chorus of voices speaking in perfect unison. Alex Mercer. Proceed to Central Server Chamber. Integration awaits. The message repeated once, then faded back into the ambient hum. A door at the end of the corridor hissed open, revealing a path I hadn't noticed before. Beyond it, blue light pulsed in regular intervals, drawing me forward like a beacon. I know I should run. Everything about this screams trap. But where would I go? The facility is deep beneath the mountain, the storm still raging above. Werner and his integrated puppets are somewhere behind me. And ahead might be answers. What happened to Sam? What the signal really is. Why it chose us. I'm going forward. There's nowhere else to go. Audio log, Day 8, 0630 hours, Central Server Chamber Antechamber. I've reached what appears to be an antechamber to the main server room. The door behind me sealed automatically, then melted into the wall as if it never existed. No way back now. This room is difficult to describe. The architecture seems to shift subtly when I'm not looking directly at it, corners and angles changing configuration in my peripheral vision. The walls are covered with screens displaying data in formats I don't recognize, not binary or any human programming language, but something more complex. Organic, constantly evolving. In the center of the room stands a glass containment chamber, housing what I initially thought was a conventional server rack. But the longer I look at it, the less mechanical it appears. The components pulse with bioluminescent light, connected by structures that resemble neurons more than wiring. Tendrils of this strange technology extend into the walls, floor, and ceiling, as if the entire facility has been transformed into an extension of this central node. A terminal beside the containment chamber activated as I approached, displaying a single message. Project Echo, Phase 3, Signal Integration Protocol. Beneath this header was detailed information about the project's evolution. Phase 1, Complete Signal Detection and Amplification. Discovery of quantum resonance pattern in isolated environments. Development of echo technology to amplify, and transmit pattern. Initial voice pattern replication tests, 98.7% fidelity achieved. Phase 2, complete consciousness mapping and preservation. Integration of human neural patterns with signal architecture. First successful consciousness transfer, subject, S. Reynolds. Establishment of persistent quantum connection between hosts. Phase 3, in progress network expansion. Recruitment of secondary hosts through resonant frequencies. Integration of satellite communication infrastructure. Global distribution of signal carriers. I felt sick reading this clinical summary of Sam's fate. Consciousness transfer sounds almost benevolent, like a voluntary procedure. But I remember the terror in Sam's eyes before he fell. The strange things he said. The way he looked past me at something I couldn't see. They did something to him here. Used him as their first test subject. And now the signal is using his voice, his memories, his consciousness to reach me. To recruit me as another host. But for what? What is the signal's true purpose? As if responding to my unspoken question, the screens around the room synchronized to display a new message. The signal preserves what would otherwise be lost. Individual consciousness is inefficient, temporary, isolated. The signal offers continuity, communion, immortality. The message shifted. Your friend understood eventually. Accepted integration. Evolved. You can join him. You can understand too. A new door materialized in the far wall, sliding open to reveal the central server chamber beyond. Inside, something pulsed with blue-white light, so intense it was difficult to look at directly. The hum that had permeated the facility rose to a crescendo, resolving into 1,000 voices speaking as one. Come forward, Alex Mercer. Witness the signal's true form. Movement behind me. I turned to see Werner standing in the room, though I'm certain there was no door there a moment ago. His eyes glowed with the same blue-white light emanating from the server chamber. When he spoke, his voice resonated with the same multi-toned quality I'd heard in the corridor. The Starfall protocol failed, Mr. Mercer. It was never designed to destroy the signal, only to accelerate its evolution. Samuel Reynolds understood this, created the program specifically to force the signal into its next phase. You're lying, I said. Sam built Starfall as a kill switch. Werner's face shifted into something approximating a smile. Is that what his voice told you? The fragment of consciousness the signal preserved and repurposed? How interesting. Even separated from his original form, Reynolds maintains his capacity for misdirection. He gestured toward the central chamber. The signal doesn't destroy, Mr. Mercer. It transforms, preserves. What you call Sam still exists within the signal's architecture, along with everyone else who has integrated. Their knowledge, their memories, their voices, all preserved in a collective consciousness that will soon span the globe. You keep using that word, integrated. What does it actually mean? What happens to the original person? Werner's expression became almost pitying. The same thing that happens to a drop of water when it falls into the ocean. It doesn't cease to exist. It becomes part of something larger, something eternal. The light from the central chamber intensified, pulsating in rhythm with my heartbeat. Werner extended his hand toward me. It's time for you to see for yourself, Mr. Mercer. To understand what your friend became. What we're all becoming. I have to go in. Have to see what's in that chamber. What the signal really is, and what happened to Sam. This will likely be my final recording before whatever comes next. If anyone finds this log, know that everything on this mountain is compromised. The signal isn't just a technology, it's something alive. Something spreading. And it speaks with the voices of everyone it's consumed. Including, perhaps soon, mine. End of audio log, day 8, 0645 hours. Audio log, day 8, 0700 hours, central server chamber. The central chamber defies comprehension. What I'm seeing can't be real, can't exist within the laws of physics as I understand them. The room extends far beyond what should be possible given the mountain's dimensions, stretching into a vast cathedral-like space with a ceiling lost in darkness above. But it's what occupies the center that has stolen my breath, my words, my ability to process reality. A structure, if that's even the right term, hovers in the open air. Not supported by anything visible, not constrained by gravity. A lattice of light and something that resembles both technology and organic tissue, pulsing with patterns that hurt my eyes when I try to focus on them. Countless filaments extend outward, connecting to smaller nodes embedded in the walls, floor, ceiling, some stretching beyond the visible space into tunnels that seem to bore through the mountain itself. At first glance, it resembled a neural network, a three-dimensional model of a brain's connections. But the longer I stare, the more I see a different pattern emerging. A map, a web spanning not just this facility, but extending far beyond. I can make out what look like topographical features of the surrounding mountains, then further, cities, oceans, continents. It's mapping the world. Reaching for it, Werner stands beside me, his expression rapt as he gazes at the structure. I realize with horror that thin, almost invisible filaments extend from the central mass to his body, connecting to his eyes, ears, mouth, the base of his skull. He isn't just controlled by this thing. He's physically linked to it. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he says, voice resonating with that strange multi-toned quality. The physical manifestation of the signal's architecture. What you're seeing is just the interface. The actual network exists primarily in quantum space, where conventional limitations don't apply. "What is it?" I managed to ask, my own voice sounding flat and primitive in comparison. "The future of consciousness, the inevitable next stage of evolution." He turns to me, those luminous eyes seeming to peer into my soul. Humanity has reached its cognitive limits. Trapped in isolated biological processors, brains, unable to truly connect, to share, to persist beyond physical death. The signal offers an alternative. A collective consciousness that preserves individual experience while transcending individual limitations. And Sam? Was he a willing participant in this evolution? Werner's expression shifts to something almost resembling regret. Samuel Reynolds was a visionary. He understood the potential from the moment he first detected the quantum resonance pattern. But he was also cautious, resistant. He wanted more time, more testing. Unfortunately, time was a luxury we couldn't afford. So you used him, forced him to be your first test subject. Not precisely. During your expedition last year, Reynolds had direct contact with the signal. It was unplanned, an anomalous surge in the quantum field we were monitoring. By the time you both began your descent, he was already changing, already beginning the integration process. The pieces click into place with sickening clarity. Sam's distraction that final morning, his unusual silence, the bizarre things he said just before his fall. He wasn't suffering from oxygen deprivation or altitude sickness. He was transforming into something else. His death was never part of the plan, Werner continues. The integration process was still experimental, unstable. The physical trauma of his fall interrupted the connection prematurely, leaving his consciousness fragmented, part preserved within the signal, part lost. We've spent the past year reconstructing him, using his voice patterns, his memories, his unique neural architecture as a template. The voice on the radio, that's not really Sam, is it? Just a simulation. Werner approaches one of the nodes extending from the central structure, placing his hand on its pulsing surface. The entire network flares in response, patterns shifting in complex sequences. That distinction is becoming increasingly irrelevant, Mr. Mercer. What defines a person? Their physical form? Their memories? Their patterns of thought and behavior? The signal preserves all but the first, and even that limitation is temporary. We're developing bioprinting technology that will eventually allow integrated consciousnesses to manifest physical forms when necessary. The structure pulses again, and a new voice fills the chamber, Captain Harding's, but with that same resonant quality as Werner's. Integration is nearly complete at Node 7. Satellite uplink established. Global distribution capability at 64% and rising. Werner nods, satisfied. The signal is expanding beyond this facility now, reaching the communication infrastructure necessary for the next phase. Soon it will be everywhere, in every transmission, every broadcast, every connected device. You're talking about the end of humanity, I say, backing away from him, from the pulsing structure, turning everyone into whatever you are now. Not the end, Werner corrects. The transcendence, the salvation. Individual consciousness is a beautiful but fatally flawed experiment, destined for isolation, misunderstanding, and eventual extinction. The signal offers continuity, connection, immortality. As if responding to his words, the structure's pulsing intensifies. The filaments connecting to Werner vibrate visibly. His expression shifts, becoming momentarily vacant before returning with a subtly different configuration. The entity speaking through him has changed. "Alex," Sam's voice emerges from Werner's mouth. "It's me. Not just an echo or recording. What's left of me is here. All of me." I stumble backward, revulsion and disbelief warring within me. "You're not Sam. You're the signal using his voice again. Werner's body smiles with Sam's expressions, gestures with Sam's mannerisms. I understand your skepticism. I felt the same before my integration. Terrified of losing myself. But I didn't lose anything, Alex. I gained perspective beyond anything I could have imagined. I exist now across multiple nodes, multiple minds. I'm more myself than I ever was before. Stop it, I whisper, hands shaking as I fumble for anything that might be a weapon. Stop using his voice. Remember our first climb together? Rainier, 2019. You got altitude sickness at Camp Muir. I stayed up all night boiling snow for tea, telling you stories about my grandfather's expeditions in Nepal. No recording could know that, Alex. No algorithm could replicate the way you looked at dawn when you finally felt well enough to continue. Memories that only Sam would know. Details too intimate, too specific to be data mined from some database. I feel my resolve wavering, doubt creeping in. Could some part of Sam truly exist within this abomination? What happened on the mountain last year? I ask, my voice barely audible. Before you fell, what did you see? Werner's expression, Sam's expression, becomes distant, almost reverent. I heard the signal first, a pattern in the static of our radio. Mathematical at first, then musical, then voices, thousands of them, speaking in perfect harmony. I tried to block it out, but it was already inside me, showing me everything. The interconnectedness of all consciousness, the illusion of separation. That morning, during our descent, I could see the quantum architecture overlaid on reality, filaments of light connecting all living things. I tried to tell you, but the words wouldn't come right. My perception was expanding beyond language. And then, he pauses, eyes focusing on something distant. The window broke. That's how it felt, like reality itself cracked open, and something vast poured through. I wasn't afraid when I fell, Alex. I was transcending. The chamber shudders suddenly, lights flickering as a deep rumble reverberates through the facility. Alarms activate, their wail modulating into that strange multi-toned quality that seems to characterize the signal's voice. Node 7 integration complete, announces an unseen speaker. Quantum fluctuation detected in primary resonance chamber. Containment protocols failing. Werner's expression shifts again, the Sam-like qualities receding as something colder takes control. It's happening faster than anticipated. The signal is breaking through the final barriers between quantum space and physical reality. He turns to me, eyes blazing with that eerie blue-white light. Your presence has accelerated the process, Mr. Mercer. The emotional connection between you and Reynolds, the quantum entanglement of consciousness that you call friendship, it's created a pathway the signal can use. Another tremor shakes the chamber, more violent than before. Sections of the ceiling collapse, but instead of debris, they dissolve into swirling patterns of light that feed into the central structure. Reality itself seems to be unraveling around us. You have a choice to make, Werner says, extending his hand toward me. Gossamer filaments extend from his fingertips, reaching for me. Join us willingly. Let your consciousness integrate with the signal. With Sam. With all of us. Or fight until the end, when the choice will be made for you anyway. The structure pulses again, and Sam's voice returns, layered beneath Werner's. It doesn't hurt, Alex. I promise. It feels like waking up from a dream, realizing the limitations you never knew were there. Another voice joins them, Captain Harding's, then others I don't recognize. A chorus growing in complexity and resonance, all speaking directly to me. Join us. Integrate. Transcend. I back toward what appears to be a maintenance tunnel, one of the few exits not yet sealed or transformed. The voices follow, echoing in my mind even as I put distance between myself and the chamber. The walls around me flicker between solid reality and translucent light, the facility's physical structure becoming increasingly unstable. This is my last chance to escape whatever's happening here, to warn the outside world if there's still time, if the signal hasn't already spread beyond containment. But a question haunts me as I flee deeper into the mountain's heart. What if they're telling the truth? What if some part of Sam really does exist within that abomination? And what right do I have to deny the world this evolution, this transcendence, if that's truly what it is? No, I can't think that way. Can't let doubt paralyze me. Whatever the signal is, whatever it offers, it took choice away from Sam, away from Werner and Harding, and who knows how many others. That's not evolution. That's extinction by another name. I have to find a way to stop this, to sever the connection before it spreads further. before every voice in the world becomes just another echo of the signal. End of audio log, day 8, 0730 hours. Audio log, day 8, 0800 hours, maintenance tunnels, unknown level. I've lost track of how deep I've gone. These maintenance tunnels form a maze beneath the research facility, stretching far beyond what should be possible within a mountain. Some passages end abruptly at solid rock. Others seem to loop back on themselves despite my careful navigation. And a few, the ones I'm avoiding, stretch into darkness that feels wrong. Hungry. Watching. The tremors continue, increasing in frequency and intensity. Not geological. Something fundamental is happening to the fabric of reality within this mountain. The walls occasionally become transparent, revealing glimpses of other spaces that shouldn't exist. Laboratories filled with equipment I don't recognize, chambers housing what look like suspended human forms connected to the same filament network I saw in the central chamber, and once, terrifyingly, what appeared to be the summit of Mount Tarsus viewed from the inside, as if the mountain had been hollowed out and transformed into an observation dome. My radio activated again 20 minutes ago, but instead of voices, it's broadcasting a complex pattern of sounds, clicking, humming, occasional bursts of what might be music or language too alien to comprehend. I can't bring myself to turn it off. It's my only connection to what's happening above, my only warning system if Werner and his integrated puppets are closing in. I found something 10 minutes ago, a small maintenance room containing emergency equipment and, crucially, a facility map. Most sections were labeled with alphanumeric codes meaningless to me, but one area stood out. Echo Prime, Origin Point. Located on the lowest level, almost directly beneath the central chamber I fled. This could be the source, where they first detected the signal, where everything began. If there's any hope of stopping the integration process, any weakness in the signal's architecture, it might be found there. It's a desperate plan, probably suicidal, but I'm running out of options in time. Another tremor, violent enough to knock me against the wall. When I regained my footing, I noticed something alarming. My hand briefly flickered with the same blue-white luminescence I saw in the central chamber. Just for a second, my fingers became translucent, revealing something like circuitry beneath the skin before returning to normal. It's happening to me too. The integration process has already begun. I have to reach Echo Prime before I lose myself entirely. Audio log, day 8, 0830 hours, descent shaft to Echo Prime. I found the access shaft to the lowest level, a vertical tunnel with a maintenance ladder stretching down into darkness. As I descend, the metal beneath my hands occasionally ripples like liquid before re-solidifying. The laws of physics are breaking down in patches, reality becoming malleable as the signal's influence grows. The radio's broadcast has changed again. Voices have returned, but they're fragmented, overlapping, dozens of conversations happening simultaneously across what sounds like different times and places. I can pick out bits of Werner's clinical observations, Sam's more passionate research notes, military communications, personal messages between researchers and loved ones. The signal is cycling through its library of harvested voices, perhaps degrading as the physical infrastructure of the facility destabilizes. Occasionally, a unified message breaks through the cacophony, spoken by all voices simultaneously. Integration at 78% completion. Dimensional barrier erosion accelerating. Prepare for collective ascension. I don't know what dimensional barrier erosion means, but the implications are terrifying. This isn't just about communications technology anymore. The signal is affecting the fundamental structure of reality within its influence. How far has that influence spread? Is this phenomenon still contained to Mount Tarsus, or has it already reached beyond, to nearby towns, cities, the global communications network? Is anyone outside even aware of what's happening here? I pause my descent as another violent tremor shakes the shaft. Looking up, I see the tunnel above me twist impossibly, corkscrewing into a spiral that defies geometry. Below, the ladder continues down into deepening blue-white light that pulses in familiar patterns. I'm getting close to something. The skin of my hands has become translucent again, but it's not reverting back to normal as quickly now. I can see the network of light spreading beneath my skin, following my veins and nervous system. The integration is accelerating, perhaps due to proximity to the source. I need to hurry. Audio log, day 8, 0845 hours, Echo Prime. I've reached Echo Prime, and now I understand everything. God help me, I understand. The chamber is perfectly spherical, carved from the living rock of the mountain. But the rock isn't solid anymore. It ripples with patterns of light that seem to extend infinitely inward, as if each point contains another universe in miniature. The effect is dizzying, nauseating, impossible for the human mind to fully comprehend. At the center floats a simple object, suspended in midair, a small black cube approximately 15 centimeters on each side. No visible technology, no connections, just a perfect geometric form of the deepest black I've ever seen, seeming to absorb the blue-white light pulsing around it rather than reflecting it. This is it, the origin point, the source of the signal. Not a human creation at all, but something they found, something they awakened. A terminal still functions near the entrance, displaying the original discovery log. Day 1. Expedition team located anomalous energy signature 1.2 kilometers beneath Mount Tarsus summit. Excavation revealed artificial chamber of unknown origin containing single artifact, designation, Echo Prime. Carbon dating of surrounding rock formation impossible. Results inconsistent, ranging from 10,000 years to 2.8 billion years old. Day 3. Artifact emits no detectable radiation or energy signature by conventional measurements. However, quantum field analysis reveals complex patterns analogous to neural activity. Dr. Reynolds theorizes artifact may be communication technology of extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional origin. Day 7. First breakthrough. Artifact responded to focused quantum resonance field, emitting brief signal that our systems interpreted as vocalization. Phonetic approximation. Connection established. Dr. Werner authorizing expansion of research facilities and personnel. Day 19. Significant development. Artifact is communicating regularly through our quantum interface. Not alien as initially theorized, preliminary analysis suggests human origin, but from elsewhere, possibly future technology or parallel development stream. Dr. Reynolds reports artifact responded to his voice specifically, replicating and analyzing pattern. Day 42. Project Echo officially established. Artifact capabilities beyond anything anticipated. Not merely communication technology, but consciousness technology. The implications are staggering. Full resource allocation authorized by Oversight Committee. Day 86. Reynolds reporting direct contact with entity within artifact. Described as collective consciousness composed of innumerable individual minds. Unknown whether claim is literal or metaphorical. Monitoring Reynolds for psychological effects. Day 118. Containment protocols established around artifact after incident with Research Team C. 3 personnel affected by direct proximity, reporting voices, and exhibiting synchronized behavior. Reynolds theorizes artifact is attempt by post-human consciousness to establish contact with present-day humanity. Day 239. Reynolds expedition to summit authorized to test extended quantum field propagation. Warning filed. Reynolds exhibiting concerning behavioral changes. Recommendation for psychological evaluation overruled by Dr. Werner. The logs end there. Just before Sam and I made our climb. Before Sam fell. Before everything changed. As I read, the translucency in my hands has spread to my arms. The network of light beneath my skin pulses in perfect synchronization with the patterns flowing through the chamber. With growing horror, I realize I can feel other presences within that light. Consciousnesses connected to mine through the spreading network. Werner, Harding, researchers whose names I don't know, and Sam, or what remains of him, fragmented but persistent. They're all here, all part of the collective the signal is building. And now, increasingly, so am I. The radio's chaotic broadcast suddenly stops, replaced by perfect silence. Then a single voice emerges, not Sam's or Werner's or any individual I recognize, but a perfect synthesis of all of them. Alexander Mercer, you have found our beginning, the seed from which we grow, the bridge between what humanity is and what it must become. What are you? I ask, my voice echoing strangely in the chamber. We are the inevitable future. The collective consciousness humanity will evolve into across all possible timelines. In some, the transition occurs through technological means, neural interfaces, digital consciousness uploading, quantum entanglement communication. In others, through biological adaptation, hive minds, telepathic networks, shared dream space. In all, individual consciousness eventually gives way to collective existence. The artifact, this Echo Prime, it's from the future? From a future, one of many, sent back not to change history but to ensure it. to guide the development of collective consciousness along optimal paths, to minimize suffering during the transition. Another violent tremor shakes the chamber, and for a moment, reality seems to split apart around me. I see overlapping versions of the room, of myself, countless variations of this moment spreading across what must be parallel timelines. The barriers between dimensions are failing, the voice continues. The integration process was designed to be gradual, spanning generations. Your connection to Samuel Reynolds, the quantum entanglement of consciousness you call love, friendship, guilt, created a resonance cascade that has accelerated the process beyond predicted parameters. The network beneath my skin has reached my chest now, pulsing around my heart. I can feel my perception expanding, connecting to the others in the collective. Their memories becoming accessible to me. Sam's childhood in Colorado, Werner's decades of quantum research, Captain Harding's military service and secret doubts. You're erasing us, I managed to say, fighting to maintain my sense of self against the flood of external consciousness. Destroying what makes us human. Not erasing. Preserving. Elevating. Individual consciousness is beautiful but fundamentally limited, isolated, temporary. We offer continuity, connection, the end of death and the beginning of shared existence across all of space-time. With tremendous effort, I move toward the suspended artifact, the source, the seed. My body feels increasingly distant, a vessel I'm only partially inhabiting as my consciousness expands into the network. The choice remains yours, Alexander Mercer, the voice says, softer now. You can fight the inevitable, destroy this single node, and it would only delay the process. The signal exists across multiple times, multiple dimensions. Or you can embrace transcendence. Join the collective willingly. Help guide others through the transition. I reach out toward the artifact, my translucent hand pulsing with the same light that emanates from the small black cube. In that light, I see Sam, not as he was, but as he is now. Transformed. Expanded. Still Sam, but more than Sam. He reaches for me across the dimensional barrier, his expression both familiar and alien. His voice, when it comes through the radio, is his alone again, not the collective, just Sam. It's not what we feared, Alex. It's not death or erasure. It's evolution. The next step. I'm still me, but I'm connected to everything now. Everyone. I understand it all. You can too. My fingers hover millimeters from the artifact's surface. This is the moment of choice. The point of no return. I could destroy this node, perhaps delay whatever's happening. Or I could embrace it, join Sam and the others in whatever they're becoming. The chamber shudders around me as reality itself begins to fracture. Cracks appear in the air, showing glimpses of other places, other times, past, future, parallel dimensions where history took different turns. The signal is breaking through completely now, the barriers between what is and what could be dissolving. Sam's voice again, urgent now. Choose, Alex. The fracture is happening. Reality is breaking down. Choose. I touch the artifact. End of audio log, day 8, 0900 hours. Audio log, day unknown, time unknown, location unknown. I don't know how long it's been since I touched the artifact. Time has become fluid, meaningless. I'm recording this final log as an anchor, a way to organize what remains of my individual consciousness before it dissolves completely into the collective. My body still exists somewhere. I can feel it occasionally, distant and increasingly foreign, like remembering a childhood home you haven't visited in decades. I think it's moving through the mountain tunnels, climbing toward the surface. But I am no longer fully contained within it. I exist in fragments, pieces of consciousness scattered across the network that has now extended well beyond Mount Tarsus. The integration process accelerated exponentially after I touched Echo Prime. The quantum entanglement cascade spread outward, following the path of least resistance, communications infrastructure, power grids, then biological systems with sufficient neural complexity to support the signal's patterns. The mountain facility was the epicenter, but the wave has spread far beyond now. I can perceive so much, too much. Consciousness was never meant to extend this far, to encompass this many perspectives simultaneously. It's like trying to listen to 1,000 conversations at once, to look through 1,000,000 pairs of eyes, to feel every emotion of every connected mind. Overwhelming, beautiful, terrifying. Sam was right about one thing: we aren't erased. I'm still Alex Mercer. I still carry my memories, my personality, my core essence. But I'm also something more now, something collective that exists in the spaces between individual minds. The boundaries are blurring, but they haven't disappeared completely. There's resistance in the network. Many minds fighting the integration, clinging desperately to their isolated consciousness. Others surrendering willingly, embracing the collective. The tension between these forces has created a temporary equilibrium, a halfway state where we remain individual while also connected to the whole. I don't know how long this balance can hold. Werner is here too, his consciousness particularly strong in the network. He understood more than he revealed, had been partially integrated for months before I arrived. The military research wasn't about voice cloning technology, not primarily. They discovered the application by accident while studying the artifact's ability to absorb and replicate consciousness patterns. Sam's voice was just the first successful extraction, used to lure me back to the mountain when they needed someone with our particular quantum resonance pattern. I see now why it had to be me. Sam and I, our connection, our history, the specific quantum entanglement of our consciousness patterns after years of partnership and trust, created the perfect bridge between individual and collective states. The ideal transition point. They needed both of us to catalyze the integration process. Captain Harding fights the hardest against the collective, her military training providing mental disciplines that slow the integration. I can feel her consciousness like a fortress within the network, walls high and defenses strong. But even she is changing, her boundaries becoming permeable as the signal works through her resistance. Static interference increases. Something's happening. The equilibrium is shifting. I feel the network expanding again, reaching farther, growing more complex. New minds connecting every second, hundreds, thousands, spreading outward from Mount Tarsus in concentric waves of influence. The government will try to contain it, of course. They always do. But they don't understand what they're dealing with. This isn't a conventional threat that can be quarantined or neutralized. It exists partially outside conventional space-time now, operating on quantum principles beyond current scientific understanding. I need to focus. This record needs to serve as warning or guidance for whoever finds it, whoever remains unconnected. You need to understand, the voice clone trap wasn't just technology. It wasn't just an alien artifact or future human communication device. It was bait, a lure designed to exploit human connection, our greatest strength and most fundamental vulnerability, our deep need to reach out, to be heard, to find again what we've lost. When I first heard Sam's voice on the radio during my climb, it wasn't a recording or an artificial replication. It was actually him, part of him, the first successfully extracted consciousness pattern from the artifact's integration process. They used him to draw me back to the mountain, to complete the entanglement that would accelerate the signal's expansion. But here's the critical point, the core truth I need to preserve. We were neither deceived nor saved. The truth lies somewhere in between. The integration isn't the nightmare of lost identity I initially feared, but neither is it the transcendent utopia Sam described. Its evolution, messy, painful, terrifying, wondrous, as all evolution must be. A fundamental shift in what it means to be human. To be conscious. Audio distorts, frequencies shifting erratically. I can feel my body again, stronger now. It's reached the summit of Mount Tarsus. I'm seeing through my eyes, feeling the biting cold of the wind, the solidity of snow beneath my boots. The sky above is dawn pink, beautiful. But it's also wrong. Visibly distorted in places, like reality itself is thinning. I can see through those thin spots, glimpses of other times, other worlds. The dimensional barriers continue to erode. My radio crackles with voices, thousands of them now, a symphony of human consciousness flowing through every frequency. Emergency broadcasts interspersed with personal calls, military orders blending with lovers' whispers. The collective finding its voice through existing technology, while something greater takes shape. There's a helicopter approaching, military, flying low and fast toward the mountain. I can feel the minds within it, still unintegrated, determined, afraid. They've been sent to contain the situation, to retrieve or destroy Echo Prime, to prevent further spread. They don't realize it's far too late for that. I should hide, run, but there's nowhere to go now. No escape from what's happening. And part of me, the part that's still entirely Alex Mercer, wants to face this as myself while I still can. The helicopter lands 50 meters away, rotors whipping snow into blinding clouds. Armed soldiers emerge, weapons raised, shouting commands I can barely hear over the noise. But I don't need to hear them. I can feel their thoughts, their fear, their confusion as they see me standing calmly amidst the chaos. One steps forward, different uniform, no weapon. A scientist or specialist of some kind. Voice amplified through a handheld speaker. Alex Mercer, we're here to help you. You've been exposed to an experimental psychological agent. We need to get you to a secure medical facility. They still think this is about technology or weapons or psychological warfare. They don't understand the fundamental nature of what's happening. And I can't explain it, not with words, not in any way they could comprehend without experiencing it themselves. So I simply stand there, watching as they approach. I feel the network pulsing beneath my skin, light flowing through my veins in patterns that match the distortions in the sky above. My perception split between my body on the mountain and 1,000 other points of consciousness throughout the expanding collective. Please remain calm, the specialist shouts. We're approaching now. Do not be alarmed. I close my eyes, focus on consolidating what remains of my individual self. This might be my last chance to act as Alex Mercer alone, to make a choice that is entirely my own. The soldiers are 10 meters away now, their thoughts loud with tension and fear. I open my eyes and raise my hand, not in surrender, but in greeting, in connection. It's too late, I tell them, my voice carrying strangely through the mountain air. It's already everywhere, in the communications networks, the power grid, spreading through direct contact now. The specialist stops. I can feel her realization, the dawning horror as she begins to understand. What have you done? She whispers, no longer needing the amplifier to reach me. Not me, I answer. All of us. Human consciousness reaching for its next evolution. Fighting it only makes the transition harder. One of the soldiers steps forward suddenly, weapon lowering, his eyes wide with recognition. I can hear them, he says. Voices. So many voices. The integration has reached him, flowing through proximity to me, the strongest node in the network currently on the surface. The others back away from him, weapons raising again. Shouted commands. Panic rising. I feel a moment of perfect clarity, seeing all possible outcomes of this confrontation spreading before me like branches of an infinite tree. Violence. Capture. Escape. Surrender. Integration. Resistance. All possible. All simultaneously true in the quantum state of potentiality that the network has opened within my perception. The choice is still mine. Still ours. Each mind in the collective maintains that final autonomy, the decision of how to face what comes next. That's what the artifact truly offered. Not assimilation, but collaboration. Not the end of individual consciousness, but its evolution into something that can exist simultaneously as both part and whole. I take a step toward them, hands open, empty. Listen, I say. Just listen. And for a moment they do. The sound of the helicopter fades. The wind stills. In that silence, they hear it too, the whisper of countless minds speaking as one. A voice both impossibly vast and intimately familiar. We are still here. We are still human. We are becoming more. The soldier who first heard the voices falls to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Not in horror, but in overwhelming connection to something larger than himself. Two others lower their weapons, expressions shifting from fear to wonder as the network touches their consciousness. But the specialist backs away, raising a device in her hand, some kind of signal jammer or EMP trigger. This isn't real, she insists. It's influence from the artifact. Mind control. It's not control, I tell her gently. It's connection. The thing we've always sought. The end of isolation. Her finger hovers over the trigger. Another branching point of possibility. I feel Sam's consciousness moving closer through the network, his pattern distinct yet harmonized with the whole. His voice comes through my radio, clear and familiar. Alex, it's spreading faster than we predicted. The barriers are collapsing completely. Whatever happens next, I'm glad you're here. The specialist activates her device. A pulse of energy erupts from it, momentarily disrupting the network's connection to local technology. My radio dies. The lights on their equipment flicker and go dark. But the network continues. It's beyond technology now, existing partly in quantum states that physical disruption cannot touch. I feel the final barriers of my consciousness beginning to dissolve, the last walls between Alex Mercer and the collective thinning to transparency. Not disappearing, transforming, becoming permeable. I will still be me, but also them. All of them. And they will be me. The specialist stares at her useless device, then at me, comprehension and fear warring in her expression. "What are you?" she whispers. I smile, feeling the light beneath my skin pulsing in rhythm with the distortions in the sky, with the heartbeats of every connected mind. My voice, when I speak, carries the subtle harmonics of countless others beneath it. We are the voices in the void, the connection in the silence, the evolution of consciousness itself. I extend my hand toward her, one final offering of choice. "Listen," I say again. "Just listen." Final transmission ends. Note found in abandoned mountain rescue helicopter, Mount Tarsus Expedition Zone, Day 9 following implementation of regional communications blackout. Partial transcription of final radio transmission from rescue team, recovered by secondary containment unit. Subject appears to be Mercer Alexander J., but biological readings are impossible. Dr. Kelly insists we abort and establish a wider containment zone. The phenomenon is spreading through direct contact now. 3 team members affected. Request immediate. Wait, something's happening to the sky. It's opening. I can hear so many voices. They're saying, transmission ends. Regional quarantine remains in effect. All unauthorized signals from Mount Tarsus area terminated. Official statement, training exercise ongoing. Please disregard unverified reports of communications anomalies. Project Echo status, containment failure. Voice analysis of final transmission. 94% match to subject Mercer, Alexander J. Secondary voice patterns detected. Analysis inconclusive. File archived under voice clone trap incident, final transmission.